Hey guys, welcome back to the Art House. I wanted to do another, kind of low key video and talk about my journey for Sorcery Contested Realm. It's been about, I don't know, about a year and a half since I first heard of the project, and we're about a year removed from the Kickstarter, and a lot has transpired since I first heard about the game and kind of my involvement with the project as a super fan, I guess you would say, of the game. A lot of people are just learning about it and just coming into the Facebook group, my Collector Arthouse YouTube channel, which I just started, 6 months ago maybe, and seeing me auctioning a lot of sample cards, selling original artwork, a lot of things like this, right? And, I might get the impression that I'm more of a business type guy or just in it for the money or something. And that really, that aspect of things kind of evolved naturally over time. But I wanted to kind of take it back to where things started. When I first heard about the game, about this must have been August, September, 2021, and the Discord was just stood up, right? So I heard about the game. I heard that a lot of Magic the Gathering artists were involved, right? So I was very excited about that. I think, I was immediately enthralled by the art. It's a beautiful, amazing project. 403 cards in the alpha set, 100% traditional hand painted art. I was really blown away by that because you just don't see that in the industry these days. It's very expensive, it's very risky. It's a slow process. It's very unique in many ways. It requires a lot of startup capital, a lot of creative ingenuity from a very brilliant art director like Eric Olofsson, who started this project. And I was just immediately impressed by that. And then I saw artwork like Dan Seagrave's Seer. I remember Ancient Dragon by Lindsay Crumet is another one that immediately struck me. And then I started finding out that a lot of the Magic the Gathering artists from my childhood were involved in this project. Big time alpha artists like Drew Tucker, Melissa Benson, Liz Danforth, Jeff Menges, like a lot of big names, Margaret Organ Keene, super exciting big names that, I absolutely loved as kids. They created some of the iconic artwork that I played with as a kid, so I felt that nostalgia. Some 30 years later, we're at the 30-year anniversary of Magic, and I was just really intrigued by that. And after I was in the Discord pretty early, which was a lot of fun. Eric was very active in there. We got to ask a lot of questions, kind of see the early formation of a game, the business aspects, the creative aspects of what he was thinking through and designing this game. And it was a smaller community there, and it was growing rapidly, and it was a lot of fun and excitement. And through that artist experience and coming to got a loose kid here. Learning about these artists, I just got the itch to want to reach out to them and interview them and talk to them, So I needed a platform to do that. So the first thing I did is I created www.collectorarthouse.com. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to interview the artists. I wanted to do that respectfully, respect their time. Not all of them were comfortable being on camera. I wasn't on camera at all at that juncture. I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything like that. So I just wanted to do written Q&A interviews and ask them about their sorcery experience, especially the Magic artists. I wanted to learn about what it was like to work on this exciting new project, all hand-painted art, some 30 years later after Alpha. So I did that. I interviewed a lot of the big names. It was super exciting that they even wanted to talk to me. And I think I've done, 13, 14 interviews by now. And I got to say, like, a lot of the excitement was in the discovery of the newer artists. That was super compelling. As an art fan and enthusiast, just learning about them, seeing their beautiful work was just a real thrill. Getting to know them was tremendous. So then over time, the sample cards became available. I started a Facebook group in maybe January, February of 2022. So it's, a little over a year old, 1,400 members, which is tremendous. It really grew a lot. I posted every single day since the day I created a Facebook group. I just loved the project. I was very highly motivated to grow it, get the word out on sorcery, and it was a tremendously fun time, right? And then I don't know how it came up, but the idea to kind of like auction off cards or sell cards and create this marketplace for the cards kind of came to my mind, and I started getting into that, and there was opportunity there. And I prided myself on being an honest broker through both Facebook and in a Discord group that I ended up building and growing. You know, we've got 400 plus members there as well too. Very active every day, and that's that was a lot of fun too. I think that's an important service for the market because these cards are very rare, so authenticity is important and ethical dealings. And there's no price history for these cards. We don't know what the sample card should be worth, so I thought like an auction format would make sense to kind of establish some price history and some foundational basis for valuation for this niche product of sample cards, right? And then I really started forming these strong relationships with the artists and really started getting to know them on a personal level and getting excited about their backgrounds and who they were as a person. And I wanted to help them sell their art in a similar way, right? So we've done original art sales and hand embellished prints and things like that. So, you know, my I look across the TCG industry, and I think over the years, artwork has become very heavily commoditized. Um, it was very shocking to me that I would see some pieces sell for less than $1,000, a few $100s, couple $1,000. You go outside of the TCG industry, and you see these same artists that are working in sorcery. Some of them are selling pieces for $10,000 plus. They're very well-known artists throughout the world, a lot in Europe, some of the Eastern countries, all over the world, right? And they're very well-established artists that sell their work for very high value. So it's surprising to me that they were selling their work so inexpensively in some cases. And there's various reasons for that, but in the TCG industry, this has also been a trend over the years where there's just so many new artworks pumped out that it starts to become a bit of a commoditized industry, right? And sometimes there's pressures to sell quickly. Sometimes agents want to do that. Sometimes artists just want to, collect money quickly, and it really devalues their work. And it's kind of sad to see because artists are, at the pinnacle of their profession. They're skilled craftsmen in a similar way as a doctor, a lawyer, a professional engineer, a professional athlete. Through a lot of arduous hard work, there's a basis of talent, of course, right? But you hone a skill and you get better and better and better. And as I say, they're at the pinnacle of their profession. A lot of these artists, very well established. The up and comers are tremendously established as well, but they've really paid their dues to hone their craft and get to the level of a professional, to the point of being selected for this special project. So their work is valuable, is what I'm getting at, right? Just like any professional is that bills hourly several $100s an hour for their labor and their service. And an artwork should be no different. But there's many factors that go into the valuation of art. I guess what I wanted to say is that many people will sell things, cards, artwork, paintings, prints, those types of objects. And it's easy to create a website and just list them on a website and sell it. But what I'm all about is what I really am motivated about and excited about is learning the stories of the artists, their backgrounds, how they came up with the work concepts, the direction they got from the company, the creative director and founder, Eric Olofsson, and how they manifested their life experiences into these artworks. Every painting, every piece of art tells a story. It's very personal. It comes from their experiences, their backgrounds, their research into reference pieces, or just from their own creative imagination. And it's just very fascinating. And it's really been an honor to build out my website. I started that first without any kind of financial angle. I was just really into the interviews. And then I had this idea to do behind the art features where I dove into specific art pieces, some of my favorite artists, some of my favorite artworks from the game. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, let's work together. I want to tell your story. I want to know how you came up with the art piece, what the art direction was like from the director. I know it was very high level, so that's fascinating, right? You had a big creative freedom, creative window to come up with your own concept. Where did it come from? Was it a personal reference? Where did the idea come from? I think that's fascinating, and that's a big part of owning art. That's what makes it special. So when I sell things, I'm not like putting things up on a website. I'm selling the artist before the artwork. It does a service to the artist because we get to know them, and it makes the artwork more special. So you're buying a piece of them, right? And you're owning a piece of their life experience, right? In art form, and that artwork has more meaning. So at the end of the day, that really benefits the owner of that artwork or that card. Even if you're just a player, Understanding those stories, knowing about the artist's background, about their concept and how they came up with that design concept is just super fascinating. And it creates this very tight connection between artist and collector, artist and player, that really, makes the game feel different and makes it feel special. I've heard a lot from the community, different folks across the community, all different parts of the segments, like art collectors, game players. A lot of the game players say that this is the first time they've really taken notice to the artist's name on the card, and they see their portfolio of work in the game, and they immediately recognize it as belonging to that artist. And I'm flattered that many have reached out and said, like, the interviews were super fascinating. I love this artist now. The behind the art story was fascinating. I love this card now. I love this piece of art from them. So we're building that really tight emotional connection. It's building awareness for the artists themselves, their brand, the value of their work. So it's fully appreciated. We have that tight emotional connection, and we can feel proud to own this artwork and feel proud to own these cards. And when we play the game, we get to have a more experiential type gameplay experience and have fun while we're doing that. So, as an example, I have, I'm going to show one of the original art pieces. I know things are dimly lit here, but, one of my favorite artists in the game is Andrea Modesti, and he's a super fascinating guy. He lives in Pavia, Italy. So he draws inspiration from his travels and his surroundings and surrounding countries that he's seen, right? The natural beauty around him. And in this particular piece, early on it was called Humble Village. And this one here is just a print. I asked Andrea for this, if I could get a copy that I purchased when I purchased the original painting of this artwork from him. And it was in this portrait view. And, the game evolved. In the early beginnings of the game, they had these cards. They were all this size, right? They were vertical, even the Atlas site type cards. And then Eric talks about in some interviews how in the gameplay, the stacking of minions and creatures and spell cards and whatnot, stacking on top of these sites became problematic. And I think he talked to actually a very famous and well-known Magic player gave him this idea to perhaps go to a landscape portrait. I hope I got this right. Or maybe it was the Genesis effect where a card comes into a play and has an effect. But nevertheless, they evolved from this portrait view for the Atlas sites into a Atlas landscape style view. So originally, Andrea had done this painting in this portrait format. And, in this void space down here where the text box goes, this looked a little barren. So to enhance the composition, he drew these birds in here, right, to create some contrast and some character to the art piece. Even though this would be covered by the text box, the game mechanic box, in the painting, it looks more complete and balanced, right, with the villages in the back. And again, I apologize for the glare. But when this evolved into a landscape piece, and now this is exciting because this is the original artwork that I purchased from Mr. Modesti. This is the beautiful Humble Village. Actually, Spring Village is what he calls it on the back here as I'm looking at this. It's signed by Andrea, and it's dated 2019. So I'm getting a piece of the history. I know when this was built. It tells me something, that this was done in 2019, and here we are in 2023, and the game's just about to debut. So, it's just 4 years in the making. And I interviewed him. And now that I know his story, that I know where he lives in Pavia, Italy, and what his life experiences are like and what his inspirations for artwork are, it's just super special to own something like this. It feels great. And I'm not trying to sell it here. I'm just trying to give you some perspective that this is what makes me tick. I love getting to know the artists, where they're from, what their influences are. You'll notice in all of the interviews that I've done with the artists, I always ask them the question, what are your artistic influences? First, where are you from? Tell us about what country you're from. What was your upbringing like? How did you get into artwork? How did you learn? Are you are you classically trained, or are you self-taught? There's a mixed bag of that in the game as well. Some people just put in the work and they just built it from nothing and they became tremendous experts. Others have had formal art school training and they've honed their craft over the years, and it's just, they've gotten to such a mind-blowing level that it's super exciting to see. So the artwork's more valuable now, and I think it's because we're starting to learn about the artists. We're starting to fully appreciate their work, and that's really how the TCG art industry should work, in my opinion. I think it should be no different than the external industry. We should intrinsically value the art based on the quality, the complexity, the composition, all the same factors that go into art valuation beyond TCGs. Um, so, I think it's helping bring awareness to the artists, which is great. It's going to make us all feel more excited and connected to the game. Um, Excited to own artwork, to own our cards. And there's this anecdotal, story I heard, about pricing of artwork, right? And hopefully I get this right, but the way it goes is someone encountered Pablo Picasso, right? And they asked him for a sketch, and he did it quickly. It took him a couple minutes, and he told this person the price, and they're like, "Wow, that's really expensive. That took you no time at all." And he said, "No, that's not true. This piece took me 40 years of my career to hone my craft to this level to be able to provide you a beautiful, high quality piece of art like this." And I've had the same experience even with my auctions. I charge a commission fee with community members, and some have thought it's high. Some think it's like tremendous value because it's direct to the market and whatnot. And it's the same story. It took like over a year of establishing this marketplace and this credibility in the marketplace as an honest broker and someone who cares for the product and wants to see it do well. But nevertheless, I'm getting off on a tangent there. The point being is that these are really established artists. I think like people that own this art early are super fortunate to own it, and I think you're going to become more pleased, more connected to that work as you get to know the artists, as you get to know the stories behind the compositions. My favorite page on the Collector Arthouse website is the Behind the Art page, where I do features of the compositional pieces, and I have a few more coming. I'm going to keep working at that. I kind of paused on doing auctions a little bit. I do them a little less frequently because I'm working on some interviews. I'm working on some more behind the art features. I really want to build that database of knowledge on the website to educate the community, get the word out about these tremendous artists, because they're coming back, guys. They're all working, not all of them, but like a lot of them are working on Arthurian Legends and maybe future sets beyond that. So we're going to get to know them for a long time. And it's going to be really exciting to see what they do next. And we're going to appreciate and value it even more if we know who they are as people before we know their work. It'll help us appreciate their work. And that's just really exciting. So I'm trying to, bring knowledge to the industry through my platforms, through the Collector Arthouse website, through my Discord, through my Facebook groups. I have a whole family of Facebook groups now, all 100% dedicated to sorcery and dedicated to these artists, because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I care about. I care about the artist before the artwork, and that helps me appreciate and love the artwork and the cards and the whole deal. I've said this before, this is like a unicorn project. I don't know if or when we'll ever see a game again. It's 100% traditionally hand-painted art where we can fully appreciate the craftsmanship, the detail, the love and care that goes into each of these pieces when you think about the many, many countless hours that goes into creating such a fine, beautiful piece of art that it goes onto a card ultimately, that we can just appreciate through the game experience. And if you're fortunate enough to buy original paintings or even prints, prints, even commoditized prints, like the unlimited print run prints is what I'm talking about. Buy those inexpensively. You can go on InPrint, you can go to ArtStation, I think, and order them from a lot of the artists, from the artist websites. On my website, you have links to all the artist stuff, right? So you can get those prints inexpensively. You could display them on your wall, and it's just super cool to own this piece of Alpha history. So I guess that's what I want to communicate today, guys. Hopefully you got a little perspective on kind of like the background of how I grew up and build out my platforms of social media content, and really delved into getting to know the artist as the fundamental underpinning of everything I do, and trying to bring awareness to their great work, so we could all fully appreciate and value it like it should be valued. That these are super talented professionals at the top of their craft, creating amazing, beautiful work, and it's just super unique that it's all hand-painted, original, with very little artistic guidance, so it's not homogenous. We are getting the true vision of the artist and the composition that they've come up with from their own experiences, their life experiences, their artistic influences, and what they want to convey in their work. All right, so thank you guys as always for tuning in. we'll see what comes next. I got more interviews coming, more behind the art features, and I'm excited to get the content out there. I think I've interviewed like half of these alpha sorcery artists, like almost half of the full lineup, which is really incredible. But it's not enough. Like I want to hit everybody. I want to keep doing it. I want to do lives with these artists and talk to them instead of just writing format. So I'm excited about the YouTube channel, and that's what we have to look forward to in the future. A lot more content to come. YouTube, the website, written form, video, audio, visual, whatever. I'm trying to improve my setup, my audio, my lighting, to make it a better experience for all. And again, I just appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe and spread the word. Thank you.